Hey everybody. So today I'm gonna get a whole lot of content. I'm gonna record a lot of content today so that I give you guys more stuff, because God has given me so many ideas that I want to share with you guys. So I'm gonna record as much of them today. Telling you what the process is about, right? So that you have as much content as possible. That's what it's gonna have to take for me to get out some of the things that I wanted to get out, so that I can give you guys the one thing in my life that I am really wanting to show you guys how it happened, which is my book. So anyway, today I'm just going to continue speaking about the discouragement. I'm going to continue speaking about the voices, right? So in what would have been, I think by the time that you see this video, not the previous one, but the one before that, I think, right? Just look for overcoming discouragement. This is a part 2 of that, right? It doesn't come out in exact sequence. Forgive me, guys. I'm just doing, right? Otherwise, if I try to get it done perfectly, it's not gonna happen at all, right? So we're talking more about discouragement. I spoke about some of the voices in your head that half the time don't really come from you, half the time come from other people. Think about a child. When a child is young, they are full of excitement, curiosity, full of life, full of love, and then eventually life happens to them, and suddenly a little boy, a 7-year-old boy who dreamt of being an astronaut, grows up and then does not become that astronaut. So it's just like, what happened along the way. Another example that I actually heard Sarah Jakes talking about this, that in her video that I linked in my video, where she talks about unlock your heart, right? That was the sermon, Unlock Your Heart. And she talks about how sometimes, like, for example, a young teenager can get their heart broken, and then feel like they can't trust women anymore. So we are on the lines of talking about that kind of stuff, right? And then I want to tell you something that really stood out for me, probably the thing that gave me this revelation in the first place, and that is Miss Lira. I don't know her surname, but Lira, the singer. You guys know the South African singer Lira. What's that on my lip? Is that fluff, or is that lip gloss? Anyway, so Lira, as many of us may know, experienced a stroke. I don't know the full story. All I know is that she was in hospital, and she was, it was quite bad. And I remember having a conversation with somebody, how I refer to you a lot, and I love you so much, but you have been such a great case study in my life. Yo, guys, relationships can be bittersweet. The very same people who loves you enough to jump in front of a car for you might be the very thorn in your flesh who's constantly provoking you. But hey, that person gives me great content. So, Anyway, I was having a conversation with this somebody, and this somebody was saying, Lira might never sing again. And we were having a conversation, and that was the word that, it's so bad, from the person from me who was listening. I did not know, I hadn't seen any videos, I hadn't seen anything, I hadn't been on Lira's Instagram page in a really long time, before the stroke even happened. And I took this person's word for it that, geez, man, it must be a really dire situation. Then, Mudimu. Mudimu is in our algorithms, guys. God is in our algorithms because the things that we see sometimes, I promise you, I don't know how many times I've said, guys, I'm gonna be on Instagram, blah, 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 all these kinds of things. Or I'd be scrolling on Instagram and I'd be feeling guilty and I'd be feeling like I need to be spending time with God. And then God hits me with content that I'm like, you see, I'm not wasting my time. Not entirely. Yes, I'm not saying, guys, that we must spend hours on Instagram, but it just things like that make me feel better, where God confirms something. I see a video, I see a post, I see whatever the case may be of something that really helps me. So Instagram ain't all that bad. Anything ain't all that bad, depending on how you look at it and depending what God does with it, right? Cool. So I see a video popping up on my Instagram feed of Lyra. I was not following Lyra at the time. Sometimes with celebrities, guys, sometimes I follow and unfollow, follow and unfollow. No hate, it's just a thing of just like, ish, man. I don't know how to explain it, but celebrities, I don't know how to explain it. But anyway, I was not following Lyra, right? I was not following Lyra at this particular moment where I saw her video. And this video was a before and after. So it was like maybe not so long after her stroke. She was in her lounge, sitting on the couch, singing, trying to sing a cover of a song. I know the Thandiswa Mazwai version, but apparently I think it's a Miriam Makeba song. And not, guys, I'm a Tswana girl, so I might not say it right, but the song is, I think, Ndilo Ndilo, something like that, right? Now that's how I hear it with my Tswana ears. It's not an excuse, but it's the reason why I'm gonna say it like that. So she was trying to sing Ndilo Ndilo, and she was struggling with the words because the stroke really affected how she speaks. Hence, this person said, who I was having a conversation with, said that she will never sing, and man, it's just so heartbreaking sometimes, the things that we say. We don't realize that we speak death into situations simply because of how we see things, and it's not because we are bad people or we are evil or whatever. I mean, let me finish the story and I will tell you. So I see this video of a before and after. She's struggling with the words. She's trying to sing. She's playing the song in the background, and she's like doing all these things and all these signs. And it's just like, if you muted the video, you would think that it's just perfect. But when you hear the sound and the fact that she actually says, I was struggling with the words, like, man, Lyra is just amazing, guys. She's just amazing. I pray that she recovers fully, but I think she's getting there. And so that's the before part of the video. And the after part of the video is her on stage in a crowd singing with two other people and singing like perfectly, like without, sometimes people who have had a stroke, I think they slur their speech, or it slows down or something like that. But you can almost hear like the impediment in their speech and their pronunciation of words. And just it's like listening to a child who's learning language, and that's what she had to do. She had to learn how to speak all over again. And I was like, how Kyomutu, there she is, she's singing. So it just reminds me that, we can say stuff, unknowingly, without malicious intent, and completely just like miss the mark. Because what this made me realize is that really, no matter what people say, you as a person know what's in you. I'll give you another example, just to show you how I'm not pointing fingers at people, but that I have done this too. My brother, whose room I'm in right now, you're looking at speakers, like his speakers are there, like, my brother, whom I love so much, and hence I say that this can be even the people who jump in front of a car for you, who will do these things to you and will say hurtful things or discourage you. And I don't know, like, it's just, I don't know. I don't want to say that's how life is, because that's why I'm sharing these things, because I'm hoping that in me sharing these things that we will get to a point as a people where we don't normalize just speaking, you know. Sarah Jakes also speaks about this. Sarah Jakes Roberts also speaks about these things, where she's like, we must be careful with our words. And it's a sermon that she dropped very recently. We must be careful with our words. So my brother, whom I love, who's a great musician, guys. Oh my goodness, that man is talented. He's talented. He started producing music, and I'm not aware of what else he was doing, but as far as I know, he was producing, making beats. That's who we knew him is, the beat guy, right? The producer. I was like, yeah, future P. Diddy, you know, he's going to be signing artists, he's going to be producing music, all those kinds of things, right? And he loved P. Diddy, by the way, you know, and it was just like that thing of like, yeah, you know, we see you as this great person. And so since he was 15, that has been him. And how old was he? He's 25 now. So jeez Louise, I can't believe he's been doing this for 10 years. But let's say 3 years ago. No, not even 3 years ago. He was 21. Oh, guys, maths is not mathing right now. Let's say maybe around 2019. I think it was 2019 when he started rapping. Before that, because I wasn't living with him in 2019, I was living with him in 2018. So maybe around 2018, 2017, somewhere there, I said to him, don't be a rapper. You can't rap, you know, and we were having such a chilled conversation. But because of my own perception of like, everybody wants to be a rapper, you get some people who are just like, you know, amongst the everybody wants to be a rapper, everybody wants to be a YouTuber, there's gonna be somewhere, somehow, people who are going to cater to a certain market, the same way that even in a world full of Revlons and Maybellines, and this is something that God said to me last year when I was like having trouble trying to step into this me telling my story thing, right? Because I was like, everybody's a YouTuber, or everybody's a digital content creator. You know, God said to me, God used, guys, they say we mustn't say God said. In my prayer time, the thought came to me that Rihanna, in a world full of Revlons, in a world full of Maybellines, in a world full of MACs, in a world full of Bobbi Browns, that Rihanna created a makeup brand even after she was successful in other industries. Nobody thought that Rihanna, the singer, would become Rihanna, the makeup brand owner, but it happened. And that's the thing that I'm realizing about myself, being on both the perpetrator and being the prey at the same time, that people don't know what's inside of you. Like, nobody knows what's inside of you. Only you know what's inside of you. When I said that, my brother, like, you know, almost in like this defensive mode, like started spitting bars, and I was like, okay, you know, I laughed and all of that, but it was just like, imagine if he had listened to me. And we had a conversation about that, and I was like, yo, I'm sorry, bro. It's like, yo, I didn't know. But really, I didn't know. The same way that the person who said that Lyra will never sing doesn't know what Lyra is doing, and this person has never met Lyra. This person does not know Lyra from a bar of soap. And I know my brother so intimately, and yet I said that he shouldn't be a rapper, that he can't be a rapper. But he is a rapper, a talented rapper, one of my favorite rappers right now. In fact, you know what, in South Africa, AKA used to be my favorite rapper. Now my brother, Crit ATF, is my favorite rapper, and I didn't think he could rap. You don't know. The assumption was, I don't know. I guess my assumption was, I don't know what assumption I made. I don't know what assumption I made. I don't know, maybe I was assuming that he's just hopping onto the bandwagon of what other people are doing. I don't know. But I did not know what was inside of him. I did not know that he had a talent and an ability to actually write music and write good music, write inspirational music. I did not know that he was frustrated wanting to make music but needing the missing piece, because in a song he could produce beats, yes, but but it was a frustration for him to constantly be looking for rappers to actually hop onto his music. And now he produces, he makes the beat, and he raps, and because he's been going to school, he's also doing the sound engineering. And it's just like, nobody except him and God could say that all those things were inside of him. Nobody could have ever said to me, I mean, this very same person that was talking about Lyra, was like, maybe this was not the way that the message was being spoken, but the way I received it is like, no, what are you doing? Go back to fashion. What is this thing that you're doing? Go back to fashion. And it's just like, shabu, if the Lord wills, if the Lord wills, if the Lord wills, I will. But honestly, I'm here because I just genuinely feel like this is what God wanted me to do. And not only that, but I'm trying to be my most authentic self. And my most authentic self 2 years ago in 2021 was like, hi guys, all of us are going, trying to get to where we're going. We're all struggling on our journey. We're all in a process. And I want to share my process. Yes, I'm not the most vulnerable person. Yes, they used to call me secretive when I was, in high school. Yes, all these things about sharing my story is not in my comfort zone. But I had a conviction, because clearly there was something inside of me that was like, guys, we can't be in this alone. Like, no, like, sharp, no bad mojo, no voodoo that anybody tries when I share my story is going to prohibit anything that God wants to do. Like, I know what's inside of me, and I know that this is part of releasing what's inside of me, and like trying to protect what's inside of me, or unlike trying to fit into the box of, oh, Neo is a fashion designer. We've known Neo to be into fashion since she was 10 years old. That's what we expect of her. There's so many things. I have a wonderful cousin sister who I didn't know was a reality, wanted to be a TV personality. And I was shook when I heard her say that. And guess what? A year later, after having that conversation, she was on TV, and it's just like, what guys, who are we? Who are we to say anything about anyone? So do you, boo. Do you? My mom said that to me the other day. She's like, what have I always told you? And I was like, I don't know. She's like, I always tell you to do you, And it's so crazy that I genuinely did not even remember that, because I just, it's just so easier. It's so much easier as a human being to remember some of the negative things that people say. You can't do this, you can't do that. But to remember things that people say you can do sometimes can be a bit more difficult. So that is what I wanted to share with you guys, that really nobody knows what's inside you. And I'm just reading my notes here. But a song that just came at the perfect time is called Life Will Be by Cleo Sol. I hope that's the right name of the song. I hope I didn't shorten it for the sake of my notes. But Life Will Be by Cleo Sol. She says, time won't wait, live your life. And, we've got a choice to make here at the end of the day, folks. Like, we've got a choice to make whether we're going to live our lives listening, thinking, acting according to what other people say or what we know is inside of us, And, I just remember so much, like, honestly, this is going to be a 30-minute video. Maybe I must just make peace with that. This year I started off, with such fire and excitement about this me telling my story thing, because I'm just like, yo, guys, I actually really want to share some of the struggles that I've had in me trying to achieve some of the beautiful things that God has blessed me with. in my fashion career, but also just me as a human being, me as a person, me as his child, me as his beloved. It wasn't easy to get to a point where I can speak so freely about God. And I've made my mistakes and I still continue to make my mistakes. And it's something that I want to share, because when I look at people sometimes who, have seemingly reached their destination, which there is none, guys. There really is none. Looking at them kind of made me feel like, oh, they must have gotten something right, along the way. And it's like some of these people are still battling with insecurity. Viola Davis, for the longest time, was battling with imposter syndrome, even after getting an Oscar. I think, if I remember correctly, you guys should. I highly recommend her book. By the way, it's called Finding Me. If I were to call my book anything, I'd low-key call it that as well. Finding Me. But I called my book something else. You'll find out soon. So yeah, I started the year with so much excitement, and even though I wanted to tell my story and I was so passionate about why I'm telling my story, I got discouraged by a lot, Yes, partly outside voices, but also my own insecurities as well, Sometimes I was at therapy yesterday, and my therapist and I were just talking about a particular situation that really affected my identity. And my therapist was just like, it's so much easier to blame people, whether it really is their fault or not, but it's so much easier to blame people. And it's like, if you're going to come up with, not even come up with, but if you're going to piece together the dots, if you're going to connect the dots of your story, if you're going to connect the dots of your life, right, come to an empowering conclusion, because it's easy but not so empowering to be like, I'm like this because my dad, because my mom, because my brother, because my this, because of this, that, because of friends, because of my environment, because of poverty, because of blah 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 blah. And it just really got me thinking about some of the things that slowed me down this year. And it wasn't just discouragement from voices that I really admire and really, not even, sometimes it's not even that I admire them, but it's just that those people just mean that much to me, that their opinion matters. But it's also just having my own insecurities about, not feeling confident enough, not feeling like, oh my goodness, I don't know how to edit videos. But just a while ago, before I recorded this video, while I'm recording this video, I'm exporting a file that I created on CapCut, because I'm like, okay, if I want to do this, I'm going to learn, and it's so much easier just to stop moving forward because you feel inadequate, or you feel pressured, or because somebody said this. It's like, okay, if you say, I'm not going to do this, or I can't do this, or I'm struggling to do this because so and so said that, like, then you really just take away the power. You give away the power that is inside of you. Hence, I really am trying to drive home the point that nobody knows what's inside of you. And sometimes I think we also on our own forget what's inside of us. We forget that, greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. If you do consider yourself a believer of Christ, then you know that the Holy Spirit lives in you. I mean, the way I understand salvation, guys, is that the moment you accept Jesus, you accept the Holy Spirit. That's how I understand salvation. The theologists will do their research. In fact, I encourage you as well to get a better understanding of what your salvation is. If you do consider yourself a follower of Christ, if you do consider yourself a believer of Jesus, then understand what it means for you, because I believe that Jesus died on the cross, yes, for our forgiveness, but Stephanie Ike says we are loved for a reason. And it's like that forgiveness was given to us for a reason. And yes, it's because of love, but also it's to empower us, you know. It's like you get your salvation, but it just doesn't just end at your salvation. And that's what I'm learning so much right now in my walk with God, is that there's so much more to just being a Christian. There's so much more to just, you know, living my life and just knowing that God exists and believing that God exists. You know, there's so much empowerment that comes with it, and it's so easy to live your life debilitated by so many other factors, whether it be your insecurities or some external factors, when you don't have a revelation and understanding, when you haven't taken the time yourself to really understand what is inside of me, who is inside of me, and what is it, God, that you have empowered me to be, not just to do, but also who have you empowered me to be. And in a world that is looking for purpose, that is why my mandate and my passion is to talk to people about identity, because purpose will come out of identity. The moment I started realizing who I am in Christ is the moment I started unfolding all these things about myself. It's the moment that I started understanding myself as a woman. I used to hate the fact that I'm a woman. I used to not want to be a woman, you know. I wasn't brave enough to do anything about it. Like, you know, change the genetics of my body. But honestly, it's not even about being brave. I just feared God. I was like, yo, if I'm like, God, you made a mistake by making me a woman. I was just like, nah, I'm not trying to tempt God like that. But also, it didn't make it any better that I hated being a woman. It didn't make it any better just because I didn't do anything about it. It didn't make it any better. The fear of God wasn't in me in that regard, that I did not think to myself that God did not make a mistake, and if he didn't make a mistake, then why not love what he created, you know? So yeah, guys, I'm going on and on and on now, but I'm just sharing my heart, and I hope that's okay. My goodness, so many things, guys, so many things have happened in this life, so many things have happened in this year, you know. Fine, we'll go from 30 minutes to 40 minutes now. Lord Jesus, I'm gonna have to take a break because talking about this is a lot. Give me a break. Sure, I don't know how people preach, eh? I don't know how pastors preach. Like an hour and a half. Lord. But I'm gonna push through. I'm gonna push through. I don't remember what my last point was, but I'm going to carry on by saying that another one of the things that really slowed down my progress this year was things not happening the way that I thought they should happen. I thought, okay, cool. The moment I decide that I'm going to take a hold of this year and live in my identity and live in my purpose, right? I thought that everything was just going to flow from there, but there was so much resistance. And sometimes the resistance, because when we say resistance, I think it's easy for some of us to think about the devil. But sometimes it's just like, if you haven't been exercising for 3 years, what makes you think that you can become a fitness bunny in 3 weeks? You know, sometimes it happens. Look, it can happen sometimes to some people. I don't know. But it was not happening for me. Hey, it was hard. I was trying to exercise. I was trying to eat well. I was trying to, just grow mentally and heal from depression. I spoke about in the last video, I think it's the last video that you guys seen, about a part of my antidepressants journey. And that was one of the things that I was trying to grow into being free from, right? But I realized that it's not as simple as just letting go of a pill, but it's also understanding how to live my life free of depression, and how to really step out of it, right? Because it's not something that you can just do. It takes intentional work to heal from something and to walk into your healing. Yeah, it's like somebody who gets injured in a car accident. They go through physiotherapy, and then there's certain things that they, for a time they are in bed recovering, right? So I'll say maybe that was my 2022, recovering, taking the pills slowly, going to therapy, slowly getting out of that slump. And then the physio would be, for me, I would say, just educating myself on how to combat the thoughts that come with depression, thoughts of unworthiness, thoughts of helplessness, and really getting to the crux of where they come from. Yes, it was like I don't even know how to explain how depression works, but it was a brain neuron, like the little messages in my brain were coming up with those messages, right? But there's also just like things that I had to do and to understand in order to combat that kind of thinking and to renew my mind, as the Bible says, right? So there was that work, right? There was the work of trying to exercise frequently, because that is a part of being mentally well and being physically well. If God is saying to me that, okay, these are the kinds of things that we're going to do this year, the way I understand it, it is going to require me to be in a holistically healthy place, mind, body, soul, right? Mind, body, heart, right? So there was that. And then I can't really pinpoint really which place and where, which is something I wish I had done. But I got sick a couple of times this year. We've had a tragic man, we've had a tragic loss in our family, which is still working itself out in the sense that, when you are used to a family unit that looks a similar way, walking out the process of the new, like when you lose someone, when somebody in your family or somebody in your life passes away, you feel the void. And that is something I'm yet to feel even deeper than I already feel it right now, because of family gatherings and etc., right? So there's that, which happened more recently, but even further back into the year, earlier in 2023, there was the loss of a friend, there was a breakup with a partner, there was a loss of another friend, and the kinds of friends that I had pictured would be my bridesmaids the day that I get married. And that really took a toll on me, that really I couldn't understand why I couldn't just move on with life. There's this term that we like to use, get over it. I couldn't understand why I couldn't just get over it. But, listening to psychologists, listening to my own therapist, listening to the psychologists that have been speaking to us, to me, to us, to the congregation at church, like using that term, we don't get over things, we get through things. And I was getting very frustrated with myself, not getting over things, whereas I wasn't allowing myself to get through it. I wasn't allowing myself to say, oh my gosh, this person who I've known for a third of my life is no longer in my life anymore. Another person who I've known not as long, but who our lives were very integrated. It's just like, how do you deal with that loss, how do you get through the pain of that loss while trying to rebuild a new life for yourself? I was stepping into completely new territory with solidifying or rather committing rather to this telling my story journey. And you know, it was just a lot at the same time, and I'm actually just realizing right now that truly I was just overwhelmed. I spoke about it in the first video that I posted this year. I think it was the first video where I was in my car and I was just saying that I'm back and I'm ready to fight. And it was just like I was going through the most at that time, you know. I really was going through the most, and I don't think that I was willing to admit it to myself. So there's a whole lot of things that can discourage you, you know. There's a whole lot of things that can discourage you from moving forward and taking the steps that, you know, God wants you to take. And it's just so crazy that God could foresee it and gave me the word that I needed to hold on to what he told me this year. But it was far too easy for me to let go of that word and to be like, how Modimo, how do you expect me to be strong and courageous when all of this is happening in my life? And it's just like God knew that all those things were going to happen, and some of them had already happened when he said be strong and courageous. That was my word for the year, you know. That was my anchoring thought for the year. And it was like he knew that all of those things would happen, and hence he gave me that word. But it was just like so difficult to actually hold on to that, and so difficult to say, okay, I'm going to be strong and courageous. God, help me be strong. How do I work out the strength? You know, yes, I need to face my emotions. I need to feel my emotions and not avoid them, right? Because whatever anybody may have you think, suppressing your emotions and just getting on with life does not help. Trust me, I know. I did that for the longest time. I did that for years in my life, hence I ended up in depression 2 years ago, a year ago, right? At least that's what I think it was. So yeah, so you know, it wasn't as easy. It's easier said than done to actually hold on to what God says about you, to hold on to what you know about yourself or what you hope to know about yourself, because all these things happened, and my identity has all over again got shaken this year when I thought I had gotten a grip of it. You know, I a month ago was so doubtful about being God's beloved. I was so doubtful about my salvation. Just the basics, guys. The basics. Let's forget about walking into your calling. Let's forget about, you know, being a disciple and making disciples. Let's forget about all those other things, because there's steps kind of to this thing, hey? And I think that, let's just say, the enemy was wanting me to regress so much, like forget about the foundations that God had built in me so much, because, you know, because he's just the devil. But also it's just the timing of it all, and at the time when I'm trying to at the time when I'm trying to step into advancing in my journey with God, you know, allowing myself not to just receive from God, but to share what I've received from God, you know. At the time where I was finally ready to do that, all of this starts to happen. And I'm not going to rationalize. Dr. Anita Phillips told us, guys, don't say that you go through things or the devil starts throwing things at you because you're preaching the gospel. Like, let's not say things like that. But it sure felt that way. It sure felt that way. It sure felt like, wow, this is a convenient time, at the time where I'm starting to like really step into redefining what my place is on earth. That it's not just about kind of the things that I wanted to do, that I wanted to be a famous fashion designer and be a rich woman, the richest woman in Africa. It was not it. God really solidified my place, redefined my place on this earth this year, and I was ready to step into that, you know. And yeah, just, I guess the enemy has his own timing as well when he sees God doing certain things in your life, right? I spoke in the last video about discouragement, being intimidated by tasks that I'm not comfortable with or confident with. You know, the girl did maths lit. The girl did not think that she could do financial projections. The girl did not think that she could do bookkeeping. keeping. The girl is still trying to learn to do those things and be confident in those things. The girl's battery is about to die, so I'm gonna keep it moving. Yeah, and such things can encourage you, but it's important for us to have faith and to just step forward. I'm telling you all the things that can happen, that do happen, so that you don't feel like your situation, your struggles are your own. Um, um, I also had one of my cousin sisters say to me that they were feeling discouraged, and it was just like it encouraged me more to post this video and to create this video so that I can say, guys, discouragement is a real thing. And sometimes I feel like it's like a snacks and an unwanted zeitgeist of our times, just people feeling discouraged, right? And I really want to combat that as much as I can, but it's also important for me to combat it in myself, and it's also important for you to combat it inside of yourself, right? And to be gentle with yourself and to be patient with yourself. And it helps so much to take God along with you in the journey and say, God, I'm scared. God, I don't feel equipped for this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I was watching a video about a girl who was talking about discipline, and the main thing she was talking about is the discipline to wake up early, right? And one of the tips that she gave, which is unconventional, which all these shame, let me not bash the motivational speakers, but quite frankly, like the motivational speakers will tell you, yeah, you need to push yourself, you need to stop being lazy, nah, 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 nah. And it's just like, none of that was working for me. And this particular girl said, the number one thing is lean on God's grace. And I think that is my biggest takeaway point from everything I've struggled with this year, is to lean on God's grace and to say that, yes, I'd like to wake up at 5 a.m., be a fitness bunny, be a praying grandmother, be a boss chick, and work 10 hours a day, and then eat five healthy meals a day, and conquer this and conquer that and do this and do that. But at the end of the day, I'm a person like Kimuto, guys, and I think that what our generation needs to remember is that we are complex and nuanced beings, and that we really need to take time with ourselves and for ourselves to really step into ourselves, because that's what we're doing. We're stepping into ourselves, because I also understand that my identity is not in me getting up and being a praying grandmother at 5 a.m. My identity is not in me working out for an hour and being able to lift 10 kgs. Sorry. I'm gonna wait for the bike to go away, but hopefully you can hear me, because I feel like my tiredness has lowered my voice. But my identity is not in me carrying 10 kgs and posting, being able to post 10 videos a week. Like, this is my first video. I said I'm gonna record a few videos, but I'm already tired, so we'll see if that even happens. But you see, like, it's just like, I want to push myself, yes. I want to get out of my comfort zone, yes. But when things are new to you, there is a grace, and there's a grace for you to be human, to take it a step at a time and not to do it all at once. And it's so crazy that I saw this in the Bible very recently, that where God was saying that, oh my goodness, I wish I could remember where it was. But basically, he was just saying that I can't give you it all at once. Oh, yes, I think it was somewhere in Deuteronomy where God was saying, I can't give you all the blessings all at once, otherwise it will overwhelm you. Something like that. I'm paraphrasing, guys, please. I once I find the scripture, I will share it maybe on Instagram. but maybe you can Google what I just said and then find it. But it's in Deuteronomy. I'm pretty sure I was reading chapter 7 and chapter 8. So maybe read those two chapters and maybe you'll find it for yourself, and maybe it'll mean something else for you. But for me, it just really showed to me that as much as I really wanted to get into a specific routine and a specific schedule, and manage my time in a specific way, I need to be honest with myself and say that, I've kind of been on a 3-year hiatus of not working as it's not a real word, but as hectically, maybe, is it a real word? As hectically as I used to in 2019 before the pandemic, and even then I was overwhelmed. Even then I prayed for a shutting down of the world to happen because I was so overwhelmed with this schedule, motivation, grind lifestyle. Guys, it doesn't help. It's not sustainable, guys. There are times and there are seasons. Hey, there's a time to rest and there's a time to work. So, yes. What else have I not spoken about? Yes, I fought myself a lot because of those things, because of my imperfections, because of my inability to go from not doing anything, not exercising at all, to exercising every single day. My inability to adjust to that. Do you know how many injuries I've had? I injured my knee. I got sick after swimming. And I love swimming. I absolutely love swimming. And those kinds of things actually kind of made me scared to go back. I'm still easing into gym. Like there's a fitness instructor at the gym who's trying to meet up with me, and like I don't have the heart to be like, my guy, the last fitness instructor I worked with gave me hectic stuff to do, and I really am just trying to ease myself back into the gym. And first of all, I'm just trying to be committed. So if it means I'm 15 minutes walking on the treadmill and 10 minutes stretching after that, and I leave the gym and that's my workout for the day, then that's what I'm gonna do. And I think what also makes it hard is just to say that to him, is just that, not just the times that we live in, but just certain communities. Sometimes we can feel like, hi, but you must push yourself, all those kinds of things. And it's just like, but guys, these things are unsustainable, hey? Like, how many of us realized how unsustainable our lifestyles were when the pandemic hit? Or when we were forced to take a seat, when we were forced to stay home, when we were forced to be quiet, when we were forced to you know what I mean, to live our lives authentically and not for the streets, you know what I mean? And when I say for the streets, I mean showing off, I mean, trying. And I'm not saying everybody does that, but that is really, it's like I said, it's the zeitgeist, low key. It's the times that we're living in, that there's just so much that we need to prove as individuals and as a people, because there's so much pressure and so much competition and such a high standard that everybody needs to be driving a G-Wagon, and everybody needs to be brunching every Saturday at, I don't even know, the fancy spots. Everybody needs to be doing this and doing that and buying this and buying that and buying expensive perfume because it's self-love, and doing your nails every single month. Girl, forget it. Forget it. What, guys? Look, if that's what you want to do, do it. But if it's a pressure from society, maybe it's time to think twice, hey? Because I mean, those are the things that I even myself aspire to. I don't want a G-Wagon, but I want to drive a Mercedes Benz. I also would like to go out brunching because, sometimes a girl can't. So, but the inability to do so can create pressure, can make you feel like, your life is incomplete, because you are at a stage in your life where doing those kinds of things would be an irresponsible use of your money. So for some people it's not, it's just, they can and they do, but I genuinely think that a lot of us feel the pressure to live up to this Instagram life, the pressure to be traveling, to be going on vacation, whatever the case may be, guys. I unsubscribe. I unsubscribe to all of that. So I say that to say I'm learning to get out of the pressure. I'm learning to not feel insecure because of certain things, certain limitations that I have, whether it be in my body, whether it be in my finances, whether it be in my environment. Like, I have wished myself out of this apartment for a really long time. And, I think just making peace with our humanity, making peace with the fact that not everything comes all at once, and understanding that it's God's love and God's understanding of us, that He has a better understanding of us than we even have of ourselves, to take things step by step. And it's not that my pastor says that God doesn't hide things from you, He hides things for you, right? So if you have a child who wants to eat sweets, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but you know that would damage their teeth, that would damage their health, that they'd get a sugar high, that they wouldn't be able to sleep if they had sugar for dinner, if they had all that amount of sugar for dinner, and then you decide, okay, I'm going to hide the sweets. They know where the sweets stay, but I'm going to keep them in my bedroom, in my cupboard, and hidden for my child's good, and I'm going to make them eat their vegetables even though they don't want to. God has been making me eat my vegetables, guys. I don't always want to read the Bible. I don't, the way that I've started reading the Bible this year is the way that I've never read my Bible before. And it's stretching me and it's forcing me to understand things that, I'm like, wow, God really wants me to be well fed and healthy, and these things are important. These things are important, and guys, I hate to say this, but they're low-key not optional, hey? They're low-key not optional, taking the time to understand yourself, taking the time to heal, taking the time to understand what God had in mind when He created you. For me, I don't think that's optional. He makes it optional. He gives us a choice, yes, right? But when I say it's not optional, I mean that we can't, if we say we want a good life, if we say we want a holistically well life, if we say we want God, let's just start there, that if we want God, there are certain things that come with that. Fine, say you want God and escape Jesus. Say you want God and escape reading the Bible, and see how it works out for you. You'll read in my book how it worked out for me. You'll look around and see in the world, and maybe in your own life, and see how it works out for you, if you'll truly be fulfilled. But there are certain inescapable truths. There are certain things that we need to accept as people, that we need to grow into as people. And I hope that we accept that, and that we do that, and that we give ourselves the grace to learn those hard truths day by day. I'll end off with one more story, because I think I have what's the time? It's 5. What time do we meet? I don't know. Just another one of the things I'll speak about. So just to close off with that point that I just made, is losing confidence in myself because of realizing that I can't just have my cake and eat it. Like, I am going to face struggles in this life, and if I don't pray and if I don't read my Bible, I'm going to get swayed left and right by what this person is saying and that person is saying. If I don't seek out the truth for myself, if I don't pray, I don't arm myself up enough. The Bible talks about prayer being, a sword of the Spirit, right? 5%. Okay, cool, guys. The last thing. So so I lost confidence in myself because I was like, oh my gosh, is this what it's gonna take to get there? And it was just a lot, and it was overwhelming, and I can imagine it being overwhelming for anybody. So the last thing, triggers. Girl has been triggered this year. Girl has been triggered. Girl has been triggered. Girl has been triggered. And I must say mostly by family. I am learning to sometimes not interpret what people are saying and just take their words for what they are, and sometimes reinterpret them without the lens of my brokenness, right? Reinterpret what people are saying to me without thinking to myself that, oh, this one is a hater, or, this one is saying this to me and it's true. Because sometimes people do say hurtful things. Sometimes people do put labels on you. And it's just like, I have had to learn to let those things be handled by God. I think that's all I can say, really. Let those things be handled by God, because I struggled when I started experiencing I want to say opposition, but really just triggers. Somebody saying something to you that takes you back to a state of your relationship with that person years back, where it was really damaging to you and that you took the time to heal, but then it takes you back, it makes you feel some type of way, whatever the case may be. But I've had to learn really not to internalize that and not to be like, oh, this is happening again. And that even if it is happening again, it's like, okay, I have new perspective that 17-year-old now didn't have. 17-year-old now felt like, wow, I'm really being let down by someone who's meant to protect me. And this person is actually violating me. And maybe actually they're right. Maybe what they're saying about me is true. And I've had to realize now not to take things that way, but to be like, God, what is the truth? What is the truth? Because I didn't know when I was 17 that the truth can only be found in God. I did not know when I was 17 that grown adults who have grown adult children who have jobs and drive, like, I don't know how to explain it. What is the definition of an adult, a grown person? Like, grown, like driving a car that costs R500,000, grown. That's not the definition of grown, guys, but I'm just trying to emphasize how you would think that certain people, when they reach a certain point in their lives, that they wouldn't behave a certain way, but they do anyway. And sometimes it's got nothing to do with you. Oftentimes it's got nothing to do with you. And this is something that someone who used to be in my life, an old friend, would say to me quite a lot, like, it has nothing to do with you, and I just like, those words would fly over me. Those words would fly over me, but I'm starting to get it. I'm starting to truly get it. And I'm praying constantly, really, for my triggers, and I'm praying constantly that being triggered doesn't distract me from doing everything that God asked me to do, which is walking in my true identity, which is walking in forgiveness, which is doing what God says I should do day to day, that I don't get so consumed by the memory of the anger that that person makes me feel, that I spend my whole day just trying to make myself feel better by watching videos, by watching movies, by, I don't know, comfort eating, and not actually realizing that I need to feel my feelings, face them, and allow myself to get through it. And allow myself to say, okay, God, I may not feel like it in this moment, but I'm going to pick myself up and I'm going to obey what you said. Or even just being like, okay, God, I feel triggered by this person. These are my emotions. This is how I feel. Help me through it. what should I do for the rest of my day? What should I do for this next hour? What should I, you know, should I journal right now? Should I put a pin in it? Sometimes we do put a pin in it. Sometimes we do lay it aside for a bit, but we have to come back to it. We cannot escape some of these things, especially triggers. And that has been a tug of war for me, because I was like, what is feeling my emotions? What is allowing myself to feel my feelings? And I'm basically, in this whole video, I'm just trying to sum up my year and some of my struggles. And I hope that you take from it that you're not alone. But yeah, those are some of the things that I've been through, going through, and been trying to deal with. And some details I wish I could share, but I really can't. So I hope that you were helped by this. I hope that the hour was worth your time. I feel like I was in therapy, honestly, sharing some of these things. But right now I feel hopeful, I won't lie. I really feel hopeful. I really feel like this year has not taken everything from me. That this year did not look the way that I thought it would really. Guys, I thought I'd be like, published author, what's up? By now. But if there's anything that my life has taught me, is not to let the I thought by now I would have keep me from being joyful, being happy, keep me from being productive in the ways that are important. I'm recording this video instead of laying in bed saying woe is me, because Lord, I was supposed to have published my book by now. I'm like, okay, cool. The delays are the delays, and you know what? I'd rather do this right than do it just to do it, And what I did in the past is become discouraged, and I will share about that when I do share about the process of releasing my book. Not just releasing it, but releasing the book that was inside onto a page, and everything that comes out of just telling my story, I guess. But yeah, that process is just unpredictable. It's unpredictable. And I think one thing that I learned through being depressed is not to let the unpredictabilities of life pass you by. I'll end off with this thought that at church, what they've been teaching us, tools about mental health, right? But one of the first things that they taught, so each week it's a different session, but the month of October has been about mental health, right? Mental health matters. And the first thing that they taught us in the first Sunday that we had this series about mental health is building before the storm. So making sure that you have, my therapist doesn't really like, isn't really for the word tools, but tools, having whatever you need, knowing how she prefers to explain it, and I think how it's more helpful to explain it to you. So I was saying society will tell you about tools. My phone died, hence angle change and cutting of the video. Society will tell you about tools, and a healthier perspective, guys, a healthier perspective of how to look at it is just understanding yourself enough to know what you need and when. So we call them tools, and what can be categorized as tools depending on how you are and what you need, and who you are and what you need, can be things like taking a jog, can be things like calling up a friend, can be things like listening to that one song that really inspires you, can be things like journaling, can be things like going to therapy, can be things like eating a healthy meal. Whatever the case may be, just preparing yourself for life's storms, creating a lifestyle that is prepared for life's storms. So you will be disappointed in life, Bafetu. guys, you will be disappointed in life. Like, we can't escape that. And I think I've lived most of my life trying to escape that. I've lived most of my life trying to avoid disappointments, because the first time I experienced disappointments as a child, I felt like my world was coming apart. And we do feel that way as children. You know, it changes us. It changes who we are and who we become when we experience hurt and pain for the first time. You know, when we experience feeling unsafe or whatever the case may be, it does change us. So how do we get ourselves to a point where we are preparing for life storms, so that those things that change us, or those things that happen rather, don't change us at our core? You know, don't change the fact that we are whole, don't change the fact that we are gentle, don't change the fact that we are kind, don't change the fact that we are loved, don't change the fact that we are at peace. You know, I really believe that it is possible to live a life where you are peaceful no matter what is happening in your life, right? I really believe it. If the Bible says it, guys, I believe it. Look, and when I say if the Bible says it, I mean that if Jesus could sleep through a storm, can I have that, Lord Jesus? Your spirit lives within me, right? So give me whatever was going on with you that enabled you to do that. And that's what I mean, that there has to have been a work done inside of you that let you fall asleep and take a nap in a storm. There has to be some sort of knowing that this too shall pass. You know, so yeah, that's what I wanted to say on that. So I kind of also feel like these videos help me with that, because sometimes they inspire me and encourage me, you know, to see myself. And sometimes I laugh at myself, guys. I laugh at myself all the time, but I watch these videos sometimes and I because I'm like, this chick is hilarious. And I love that, because it helps me fall in love with myself, which is something that I'm trying to do all over again. Not all over again, I guess maybe just like as life progresses, you just kind of also need to come back to self, you know. So that's one thing that I'm doing. But anyway, I hope this was helpful. I love you guys, and you're okay. And it's okay to feel discouraged, but don't let yourself be discouraged, if you know what I mean, right? And if you don't know what I mean, I don't know how else to put it, but like, yeah, I just hope that you are helped, and I just hope that you find ways. Yes, that's what I mean. You find ways to get yourself out of discouragement. You find ways to find your courage again. That's what I mean. So I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. I don't know if I'm gonna record another video right now, if I'm just gonna take a nap, because dang, I've been talking for over an hour. And I hope it was helpful for you. I love you guys.